You won't believe it, but today I'm going to show you how even just giving up little things in life can make you really rich. And this without starting a business, without being extremely clever, and without winning the lottery. And just to be clear from the beginning, just fixing these 7 little things can make you gain up to $10 million in your lifetime. I know it sounds crazy, but bear with me in this video and everything will be clear for you. If you don't know me, welcome to the channel. My name is Rick and I love finance and investing just as much as I love sharing everything I learn with beautiful people like you. And if you know me, you know that I like to create Google Sheet files of what I talk about in my videos. So even for this video, you'll be able to download a file that will calculate for you everything we'll talk about today, and you can adapt it to your specific case. Without further ado, let me start with a little thing number one, and this is coffee. Coffee is tasty, that's true, but it's literally one of the biggest, smallest wealth eaters because it bites your finances $3 at a time. 1/3 of Americans spend more on coffee than on investing, according to the Motley Fool. And in particular, they write that according to Acorn, the average American spends about $1,100 per year on coffee, which breaks down to roughly $3 a day. And think about it. This is an American average, but not everybody really drinks coffee. So the average just among the coffee drinkers is actually higher than that. But let's keep it simple with $3 per day and let's set it in our table. Well, if you were to invest those $3 per day on the total stock market, for example through VTI, which in the last 30 years gained 10% compound annual return, only giving up this coffee per day, you'd find yourself with $68,343 after 20 years, $203,444 after 30 years, and hear me out, $1,559,195 after 50 years. Now please, don't tell me that 50 years is way too long and doesn't make any sense. It does make sense. If you're, for example, in your 20s, the simple fact of investing $3 per day on something as safe as the total stock market, which delivers 10% per year on average since almost 100 years, is going to make you a millionaire by the age of retirement. Just this $3 per day. And you don't have to give up coffee, you can simply make it at home. I make it like this, and I literally spend something like 5 cents per coffee on average, and I'm happy to know that this $3, $4, $5 per day that I'm saving, as useless as they can seem on a day-to-day basis, are actually going to change my life in the long term. Another thing that will change your life in the long term is if you're a nice, generous person and you drop a beautiful like to this video. And I hope that if you get any value out of my content, you'll take a second to do this, because really, my life depends on it. Alright, the second thing I already know that some of you will say, nah, I don't want to give up this. Well, you'll probably think it through after I'll tell you how much money you're giving up financially by doing this. I'm talking about dining out, which is one of the things that I've always wondered about, because even people with zero money in their bank account can't renounce going to the restaurant or food delivery or whatnot. People, now the Italian in me is coming out. Cooking is wonderful. It can be really fun, really. In fact, look how much fun Gordon Ramsay always has.
Get out my way! Cause it's together! Shit! And look at me! We're still raw!
No, but really, the amount of money you waste on the long term eating out is just unbelievable. Roughly 49% of the money spent on food by Americans goes towards eating out, according to a report from GitNux. And if you navigate the websites of the US Bureau of Labor Statistics, you find that in 2021, which is the last available year, the average American household spent $3,030 per year on dining out, which comes down to roughly $60 per week. Going back to the file, we insert $60 for dining out in the weekly expenses, and you see that after 20 years, always assuming you'd invest the money with a 10% return, you're renouncing to $182,000 after 20 years, $542,000 after 30 years, and look at this, $4,157,000 after 50 years. Sum this up with $1.5 million from the coffee, and only these two little things, if you could just give them up and invest the money instead, you could potentially have $5,717,000 after 50 years. And yes, maybe if you're already 40 years old, you're more interested in the 30 years column. But I mean, that's also an incredible result, right? But even more, if you're young and you're in your 20s, please consider what you're missing out by not choosing this opportunity. And also by not subscribing to my channel, because if you did subscribe, you'd have weekly finance and investing videos without ever have to pay a cent for it. So think about it. Alright, number 5 is another thing that has no use for our survival whatsoever, but most of us can seem to give it up. I'm talking about alcohol. And according to a recent poll from Gallup, 67% of American adults drank alcohol in 2022, up from 65% in 2019, 63% in 2018, and 62% in 2017. The same result, by the way, is reported also in the Consumer Expenditure Survey of the Bureau of Labor Statistics. And getting back to the report of the US Bureau of Labor Statistics, we find that the average American spends around $500 to $600 per year on alcohol, and in particular $554 in 2021, which breaks down to roughly $10.70 a week. Let's put it in our table, and assuming the 10% rate of return of the total stock market, you'd be getting 32,500 euros in 20 years, $96,748 in 30, and $741,483 in 50 years. Summing up with the others, and by just giving up coffee, dining out, and alcohol, you'll be able to pocket around $6.5 million in retirement if you start early enough. By the way, in the table that of course I will make available to you for the link in the description below, you're going to be able to add other daily, weekly, and monthly expenses. In this video, I'm going through 7 that I believe you should focus more on, but it's a good exercise if you take the time to write down all your necessary expenses and figure out how much you can actually gain from each of them. The tool also shows you the total result on a separate table, depending on where you invest and with which rate of return. It tells you how many years you're gonna need to reach your goal, and it gives you the complete breakdown of the portfolio growth based on your data. I don't ask anything in return, but please consider supporting my work with a like to this video, maybe a comment if you want, and of course, subscribing to the channel. Alright, number 4 is fees. Fees is a really annoying word, really similar to bees, which are also quite unpleasant. No wait, there was wasps, not bees. And in fact, fees are hidden everywhere. $2 here, $10 there. You easily get to values that can really make a difference financially. And the problem is that we kind of think that there is nothing we can do about them. But that's not true. Now, I could list millions of possible fees, but I'm gonna focus on 3. The first one is banking fees. For example, for your checking account or for a savings account. And it's definitely worth checking if you do pay fees for your accounts. And if you do, remember that as little as $15 a month can add up over the course of a year. There are free options available. Just Google free checking accounts and you find many sources. For example, Bankrate, which is a good comparison platform. I'm gonna link it in the description below for you. Besides banking fees, you might have financial fees and commissions. Financial advisors, robo-advisors, cryptocurrency exchanges, brokerage firms. Some services might even be worth it, but fees can also add up quickly. And the third one is parking fees. Many times you just move by a car to do some errands or just go to the city center, and these $2, $3, $4 every time sum up to incredible sums at the end of the month. If we assume $15 per month for banking fees, $15 for parking fees, and $10 for financial fees and commissions, if you could renounce them and invest the money instead, you'd have $30,000 after 20 years, $90,000 after 30 years, and $700,000 after 50 years. Summing up with all the rest, with just 4 little things, we're already at over $7 million after 50 years. One other thing that people waste way too much money on is clothes. I've been guilty of this myself in my early 20s, and looking back, I've wasted so much money for things that I absolutely didn't need. The funny thing is that I still use a lot of branded clothes right now, but they're like 10 years old. I just got really good at preserving them. But anyway, this is obviously a major expense for women, generally speaking, but men, even if they buy less, tend to spend more on single units. So ask yourself if you really need that expensive watch or that Ralph Lauren polo. Again, it's not about walking around naked because you give up clothing, but I can tell you from personal experience that you can easily make yourself a nice clothing inventory by spending like $100 per year if you don't throw away your clothes so often and if you don't buy expensive brands. The US Bureau of Labor Statistics talks about an average of $1,754 spent in 2021 on apparel and services, which comes down to $146 per month. With $146 per month invested, you could be reaching $110,967 in just 20 years, $330,000 in 30, and catch this, $2.5 million in 50 years. Summing up with what we reached with the past 4 things, we're looking at around $9,680,000 after 50 years. Another thing that for many people is a waste of money, not because it's a real waste of money for itself, but because it's paid and not well used in many cases, is gym memberships. If you go to the gym regularly, at least 3 times a week, you do it for years, and using free alternatives like YouTube courses doesn't suit your purposes, then this part doesn't interest you. But is this the norm or the exception? USA Today reports that 67% of gym memberships go completely unused. But even among those who do use their gym memberships, many are not exactly what you call regulars. According to Finder.com, roughly 56.6% of members actually get to the gym at least twice a week. A further 20.7% make it once per week, 6% once per month, and 7.4% less than once a month. Considering that the average gym memberships can cost between $40 and $60 per month, that's quite a lot of wasted money. If your goal is bodybuilding and you're a man, you do need weights to make decent progress. If you're a woman who doesn't necessarily want to become a living closet, or if you're a man or a woman interested in free body workout or any type of aerobic work, there is nothing that you cannot find with a free YouTube channel. My suggestion is show your perseverance there first. If you hold out for 6 months, you can think about a gym membership. I'm gonna set here $40 per month for gym membership that if saved and invested, it's gonna give you around $30,000 in 20 years, $90,000 in 30 years, and $692,975 in 50. Number 1, and this is by far one of the most avoidable because not only it's not necessary, but it also makes you extremely unproductive, which is the biggest enemy of success, are streaming subscriptions. Look, I got nothing against Netflix. I have it myself, in fact. But you need to know that things can easily go out of hand. Netflix can cost you between $15 and $20 per month. HBO Max, $10 to $16. Disney Plus, $8 to $11. I mean, if you're a movie, couch, and popcorn freak, you most likely have more than one subscription, and you gotta start asking yourself, do I really need all of this? And think about Amazon Prime, $14.99 per month. Paying $15 per month for free shipping can be a great deal if you order like $200 stuff per month. But in this case, ask yourself, how the hell do you want to justify that expense then? So if you really want one, like Netflix, use it together with other people and split the costs. Another thing you can try is to cancel all your recurring subscription first, and after a few weeks, add back only those you truly miss. So if we want to be forgiving and consider only $30 per month, considering only Amazon Prime and Netflix, just because of free shipping and some movies, you're giving up $22,781 in 20 years, $67,814 in 30, and yes, $519,731 in 50 years. If you consider the 7 things that I mentioned in this video all together, and you were at 20 years old that just renounces these 7 things and invests this money in the total stock market through an ETF like VTI, at the age of retirement, you will potentially have a wonderful portfolio of almost $11 million. And look, I'm not advocating living like a monk. Everybody has the right to enjoy life, and we shouldn't just give up all the pleasures just so that we are millionaires after retirement. This is not the point that I'm making, and it will be really wrong. The point of this video is to show you what a huge effect every single expense has on your future. Even little things like a $3 coffee every morning in your favorite cafe. Considering that 57% of Americans can't afford a $1,000 emergency expense, and that the average credit card debt in America is approximately $5,733, you realize that it's not about enjoying life in the right way. Most people are literally gambling their future. So don't gamble your future, making your whole paychecks disappear at the end of the month. Learn how to save and learn how to invest. And you're welcome to use my channel and the content that I publish every week to help you get some inspiration on investments, on personal finance, or even just to learn from my mistakes. I hope you enjoyed this video, everyone. Let me know which expense you consider avoidable among these 7, and I hope we meet again in the next video. Ciao.